Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today's Daf is Nedarim, Daf Nun Hey, number 55. We have a great share for you today. We're going to talk about grain and cereal. If you wondered, take an eder from Dagon and Tvua, what types of cereal grains and cereals are included. That's the new twist, interesting twist I'm going to bring in today and elaborate more in the separate shir, Ian with Ben Sion, and the Ian 8-minute Ian shir I give every day on the daf. Let's get started. The Mishnah. Then hey, I'm an Aleph. I know there min hadagon aser b'pula mitzri. Yavesh divrei meir. Takes another from dagon. Now dagon is a word that's not clear. Dagon, according to most explanations, article means something you pile up. Wheat, barley, this thing you pile up in your granary. Here in Israel, the word dagon, the ganim, is used as a word for a breakfast cereal. So we'll talk more about that in a second. Reb Meir says pula mitzri yavesh, meaning Egyptian beans that are dried out. In Egypt, this is a staple of breakfast over there. Their national dish is something called fol medamis, which is made from Egyptian beans. It's a specific type of bean they use, the fava bean, that they use. So included in that, according to Rameir, is Pula Mitzra Yavish. We'll see maybe more is included on Amud Beis, according to Rameir. If you say Dagan, according to the Chamim, only the 5 grains, the 5 special grains that are exalted grains, right? Rice is not one of them, but wheat, barley, rye, spelt, and oats. Those are the 5 that are special. Rameir Omer, Hanodra min hatvua, eno asher al mechamesh hamin. Rameir though concede to say tvua. Tvua is something lashon of bia, something that you bring to a higher status. So tvua also is another word for saying grain, but according to him, Rameir says even tvua only means chamesh hamin. Avon min hadagan, he reiterates, you say another min hadagan, asher b'chol, umutar the peros ilan v'yarak. Now he adds in, before he just said it includes one thing besides the 5 grains. Pola Mitzri Yavesh. Here he says it includes everything, and we're going to see that's legitimately his opinion. The only thing it excludes are actual fruits from the tree and vegetables. Those things are not considered to be dagon because, as I'm going to explain, you don't make breakfast cereal out of fruits and vegetables. You might put some fruits and vegetables in your cereal, pecans in your cereal, almonds in your cereal, um, strawberries in your cereal. When I was young, I used to mix bananas with your Cheerios, but those are things that you don't have a cereal just of bananas or just of strawberries. The main component of the cereal is the grains. So the Gemara says, "Lameimra, this dagon called the midgan mashma." The word dagon, according to Reb Meir, means anything that's midgan, piled up. Mason Rav Yosef, right? It includes more than just the 5 grain. Rav Yosef asked the following question from a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim. Ukeprota davar hirbu b'nei Yisrael reishis dagan tirosh v'yitzar v'chol tvu asade al arov. Chizkiah HaMelech, he was one of the righteous kings of Israel. He felt they weren't giving Shumas HaMaestros properly. So he said everyone give Shumas HaMaestros to bring it to the base of Mikdash. When they made this takana, Klal Yisrael listened. Not only did they listen, they brought a ton of Shumas HaMaestros from all the different types of grains. V'yamras dagan called the Mizgan Mashma, right? It says 2 things in this passage. It says dagan, dagan tirosh v'yitzar, and then it says v'chol tvuas asad. It says the word tvua and dagan. If you say dagan, according to Meir, means more than just the 5 grains. Mike prota davar hirbu. Really, the Gemara is asking why does it say kol tvuas asada? What is that adding? So Amar Abaye lasuye peras ilan v'yarach. No, kol tvuas asada is coming according to Meir, right? Dagan does not include fruits and vegetables. Kol tvuas asada, this incident where they brought extra shumas and maishros, that also is included, was peiros, fruits and vegetables. So that answers the question. Right, which is clear from the Mishnah. Tvua, both according to the Meir and the Chamim, only includes the 5 minim of primary grains. Bryson says they both agree. Pshita. Why do you have to reiterate what it says in the Mishnah? Tvua komili mashma. You might think the words tvua, right, means anything. It means more, right? It includes more things. Anything that comes to fruition to provide nourishment for you. Kamash malan, dilo mashma kol mid. It doesn't include anything. Only if it comes that five types of grain come to, we'll see, maybe an aliyah or a bia, they come to a higher status. Mesa Rav Yosef quotes a davar hebrew b'nei Yisrael. Right, this pasuk includes kol tuas haaretz, and that's talking about a lot more. Shamar Rava tvua lechud tuas asada lechud. There it says tvua sada. So tvua sada includes more than just tvua. Tvua is only 5 grains, more than according to Remeir and according to the Chum. Tvua sada includes even fruits and vegetables. Bar Mar Shmuel, the son of Shmuel, Pakid Dalisun Dalisnun Placer Alpe Zuze Larava Min Alalta Naharpanya. He left in his will that he made it in his Sava, that after he dies, 13,000 zuzim, silver coins, from his estate should go to Rava. But from where does it come? From an alalta dinahar panya. From his alalta means, we're going to see, it's a discussion what this word means, but the simple explanation means aliyah, things that go up in value, from the harpanya, from his plot of land in the valley of Panya. Shachar Rava l'kamid Rav Yosef. So Rava wasn't sure. He has this Sava. He's able to collect 13,000 silver coins, but from what can he collect? So he sent the question in front of Rav Yosef. Alalta heichi mikri. What does alalta mean? Amar Rav Yosef masnisini. It's a Mishnah. He interchanges the word. Alalta is basically tvua. Aliyah. It comes to fruition. Only the 5 primary grains really come to bring a product of value. Amar Abaye, mi dami. You can't compare. Abaye said to Rav Yosef, who was his rabbi, Alta means anything that goes up in value, or anything like dagan that's piled up, it goes up in value, or it's piled up. Alta means just it comes to an aliyah, it comes to a higher position because you pile it in the granary. Adrula Kamei the Rava. They sent the response back to Rava. Amar, how look can we pilot? When here Rav Yosef says it only means 5 mini dagan, and Abaye said no, it includes more. He says no. To me, it wasn't a question whether it includes more. I saw that like Abaye. I didn't mean to ask Rava that. Rav Yosef that. Rav Yosef gave me an answer that I wasn't looking for. What was my question? Apparently, in the valley of Panya, he owned property, real estate, and he owned boats. Maybe there was a sea over there, a lake over there. Came at the Paksa and Laval Alta. Since, right, houses, real estate, and boats, right? A yacht owned, maybe he owns some yachts over there. So they need maintenance over there. So they go down in value, right? So therefore it's not allowed. It's not considered a complete aliyah in value. It's not, it's very hard to estimate how much they go down in value. At the end of the day, it's considered purely an aliyah. Amru Rabbanan committed Rav Yosef. The Rabbanan sent back the response of Rav Yosef. Amar, if he didn't need my answer, why did he send it to me? Ikbid Rav Yosef. Yosef was angry, right? He should have specified his question more. And the fact is, Rava disagreed with Rav Yosef. Even though Rav Yosef gave his opinion, Rava said, no, I don't agree with his opinion. I just wanted to know about rent that I would get from the houses and the yacht. Of course, I'm getting everything that comes from produce on his land. So Rav got angry. Rav was the rabbi of Abaye and Rava. Rava heard that Rav was angry at him. Also, he wanted to get to appease him on Erev Yom Kippur. They asked for his forgiveness. So when he entered the house, he found that the butler of Rav Yosef was mixing him for a cocktail. I know how to mix cocktails better than him. Anna, I'll mix it for him. Yavle. So he let him mix it. He mixed for him a cup of wine. Maybe it was brandy. Apparently, Rav Yosef was familiar with Rava's skills as a bartender. He's a professional job like Rava. Yosef Barcham, the son of Yosef Barcham. Amarle, who knew? So the butler said, it is him. He's here. Amarle. So he went over to him, Rav Yosef. He was obviously angry at him. So in order to placate him, he asked him a tough question. He says, don't sit down until you explain to me this pasuk. Midbar matana nachliel u'minachliel bamos. This is a pasuk in Midbar. What does it mean? So he answered him. The first part of the pasuk. Shu mufkar lakol. He makes himself like a wilderness, like a desert. Desert. Anyone can go in a desert. There's no one's settling in a desert. The mufkar lakol. It's an area which can be inhabited by anybody. No one's going to want to live in a desert. So a person makes himself like a desert, meaning people come over to him with their questions. And, like Ramosha Feinstein, you can call him at any time in the night, even 4 o'clock in the morning, you can pick up the phone. So, they're going to start with Moshe Feinstein. A lady kept on asking him to translate Russian into English because he was originally from Russia. And he never bothered to tell her that it was annoying him that he couldn't learn. Someone else in the family had to tell this lady, stop calling. So he's mufkal Torah nidla matana. If you make yourself like that, you'll get the Torah as a present. Shenemar. Now, everyone thinks nidla matana is a great thing, right? It sounds like you remember the entire Torah. That's most people explain this. You retain the Torah. It's given to you like a present. I would say not like that. Matana is a gift. Usually, sana matana siyacha, you shouldn't get gifts. You should hate gifts. The Torah is given to you, or a lot of times people will answer shilas. They'll answer it based on what seems to be the correct position. It's not like you can ask a gadol a question, and he'll just give you his answer based on the first thought that comes to his head, without delving into the sugya and in his mind. Some rabbanim do delve into the sugya. A lot of them just what the first thing that pops in their mind will say. Without proving what they're saying. So that's like a matana, like a gift without yigia, without toil. Torah nidlo matana. Torah is given to matana shnemar, right? Because oftentimes you're asked so many questions, it makes it like a midbar. Everyone's asking you a question. You don't have time to search into it. Anyways, that's there's always two ways of looking at the Gemaras, but everyone likes to interpret it in the positive way. Shnemar matana midbar matana. Once Torah is given matana, nachlo kel. Hashem gives it to him as an inheritance, right? It's not the rabbinate. It doesn't just go through him. He passes on the rabbinate to his children. Shnemar matana nachliel. Once Hashem gives it to as an inheritance, ola l'gdula, he becomes a great person, tzaddik. He becomes the gadol ador. Shnemar matana bamos. Bamos. When you get a nachla, you go bamos. Bamos is like an altar. It has a ramp. You make bia atzmo. If he makes himself too great, right? He abuses the power. Hakadosh Baruch Hu mashpilo. Hashem lowers him. Shnemar umi bamos hagai. Pasuk continues, from the high places he goes to the valley. V'lod el sheshokin oso bekarka. Hashem not only brings him low, he puts him underneath the ground. Shenemar v'nishkav al pnei Yeshimon. The pasuk continues, v'nishkav. Don't look down al pnei Yeshimon. Yeshimon is the valley, and to look down from the valley is even a lower place than the valley. Mchozerbo. If the person does tshuva, Kadosh Baruch Hu magvio, Hashem then brings him back to his earlier status. Shenemar nun hamid beis on the top. Kol geyin asay. This is not a pasuk in Sefer Bamidbar. This is a pasuk in Yeshaya. But it says any person who was in a low valley, he has the ability to be brought up. Tanya, the Bryce says, another than a dagan asher afapul a mitzri yavish mutter belach umutter always bechelka with targets with tisni. Take another from dagan, right? So this brisa, which is an anonymous brisa, follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir, right? Even pul a mitzri dried is asr. Rice, I think it just means not rice cereals. I think it means literally rice. Chelka targets of tisni are just different types of pastas that are cut into different shapes. A half, a third, a fourth, Chazal say, the Rishonim say. It really means how big or what the shapes of the pieces of pasta are. Pasta and rice are not included because they're not grain, they're not cereal grains, they're not grains made for cereal. I know I'll explain that more in Ian Tolina. And it seems like this Bryce says the halacha, which is inconsistent with the fact that it's a shita of a yachid or a mayor. How could he possibly like a mayor? In fact, most can paskin like the chamim. I know they're not peiros hashana. The Brisa continues, they're from fruits of the year. Asr b'chol peiros hashana, any fruits of the year. Umutter b'gdiyim uvitzlaim. However, you're allowed to enjoy the meat of a goat or a tle, or a sheep, or a chalav, milk, or beitzim, eggs, or gozos, and chickens. Anything that grows this year is asr to me. Asr b'kula, and then he's asr and all the types of meat and all the types of milk and eggs which grow during the year. Another min peros haaretz. He says he's not going to benefit from peros of the ground. Asr b'chol peros haaretz. Anything that grows from the ground is asr. A mutter b'kmino pidrios. He's allowed to benefit from mushrooms and truffles. The Amar Gedule Karka Allah, anything which grows from the ground is asr to me. Asr b'kula, and he's asr even in the truffles and the mushrooms. Raminhu, we'll see in a second the difference between truffles and mushrooms and other things which grow from the ground. Raminhu, because ostensibly mushrooms and truffles, you look at them, they are growing out of the ground. Raminhu, al davar she'en gedulam in haaretz, this is Mesachas Brachos, something which doesn't grow from the ground. Omer sha'akol niyam, you say sha'akol, the bracha. It grows from the ground, you either say ha'etz or adam. But Tanya, al melech ve'al zamis, the right says, on salt, or zamis is salt water, of al kamino pitrios, truffles and mushrooms. Omer shakal midvaro. He says shakal midvaro. So you see that it obviously doesn't grow from the ground, right? Because it did grow from the ground, then you wouldn't make shakal. Mir barabu ma'ara. How do you answer this question? Mir barabu ma'ara. Truffles and mushrooms, they do grow from the ground. Meinak me'avira yanki. However, their nourishment they get nourishment. They survive from the air, from some chemical process that they do by absorbing the air. These are fungus, so they're nourished in a different way. They don't grow from the soil. So therefore, they're, in a certain sense, they grow from the ground, but they're not exactly, in a certain sense, they don't grow to the ground. The Brisa says something which doesn't grow from the ground. These do grow from the ground. So you have to switch around the words. Anything which doesn't have nourishment from the ground, right? Then you say sha'akol niyam midvaro, and that's why mushrooms, even though they grow from the ground, you still say sha'akol because it's yanika, its growth is not attributed to the soil which it grows from, it's attributed to the air. Mishnah says, another minaksus, if you take another from clothing, you're not going to wear clothing. Mutter b'sakov yuriya v'chamila. You're allowed to wear sackcloth, which usually people only wear during fast days. Yuriya, you're allowed to wear a material that's used for curtains, right? A very thin material. Uvechamila. Chamila is a type of thicker sackcloth that people use in the rain. Amar konam semer ola Allah. He says, I'm not going to benefit from wool going on my body. Mutar liskasas begizi semer. The actual shearings of wool. He means clothes made out of wool, not the shearings of wool. Pishtan ola Allah. He says, Pishtan, I'm not going to get benefit from linen or flax. Literally flax plants you can take and cover yourself with them, because he meant clothing made out of flax, which is linen clothing. Yehuda says somewhat of an ambiguous comment. He says everything depends on the noder. Well, the Gemara will explain. Ta'an ve'zia, if he was carrying something and sweating, and whatever he was carrying smelled very bad. If he said, so he's allowed to wear them, right? Obviously, the Gemara will explain this more, but he's carrying things, a huge amount of wool or a huge amount of linen, and it's causing him to sweat a lot. So he didn't mean that he can't clothe himself with wool and linen clothes. It just meant he shouldn't carry it upon himself because these are heavy materials sometimes, especially wool, and it'll make you sweat. The Gemara says, Tanya, hanoder min aksus muter b'saka riya v'chamila. He's muter in sackcloth or very thin cloth or very, very thick cloth. V'aser v'punda u'piskia u'sakrutia u'kabatlia. These are different types of clothing. Punda. Let's get the article over here. I can't remember what the article says about these things. He says a hollowed belt and a wide belt. So punda is a hollow belt. I don't know why a belt would be hollow. I would say it depends. Piskia is a wide belt. I'd say a thin belt and a wide belt. It was sakrutia ubikabatlia. This is talking about a leather shirt, and I would say a leather jacket. Anpilia, Anpilia are light leather shoes. Uplinia, if we're talking about light leather shoes, we're talking about thicker leather shoes. Umichnasayim v'kova, pants and a hat. My iskurti, one of these things was iskurti. Amarav brachana kituna de sala, a shirt made of leather. Tanya, that's still considered to be clothing, even though maybe only cowboys wear that. It's still considered clothing. Tanya yosim besak ava over sagos ava over yuria v'chamila imnei agshamim. Although the Brisa just brings us along because we're talking about clothing, but the halacha over here is halacha that's relevant to Masechah Shabbos about going out with different types of clothing on Shabbos. So you're allowed to go out on Shabbos in sackcloth over sagos ava. It's another type of very heavy material. Over yuria v'chamila. Yuria and chamila again. Yuria are curtains. V'chamila is a very thick type of sackcloth. If you want to go out and protect yourself, you don't have anything else to wear, so you want to wear it on Shabbos. Your would be like a poncho or something like that. If you want to cover yourself from the rain, you can't take a box, you can't take a basket, and you can't take a mat to cover your head. That's called hotzah, because it's not called derech malbush. It's not considered something. It's considered a masoy, even though you're benefiting because it's protecting you from the rain. It's not considered clothing, and it's something a masoy. It's something that it's hard to hold a box over your head, and it looks funny. So it's really a burden for you, and you're not allowed to do it. A row and yotzim besakim, below row and belvad. Shepherds, a lot of times, the only things they have to cover themselves when it starts to rain is sackcloth. And the Mishnah says, below row and belvad, like we said before, anyone can go out in sackcloth. Normally, the people that wear sackcloth when it's raining are shepherds that have nothing else to wear. However, anyone else could use it because it is legitimately clothing, and therefore it serves a purpose to protect you from the rain, so it's not considered a burden. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Hakol if you know there. Tanya, case number Rabbi Yehuda, Hakol if you know there. What did Rabbi Yehuda mean when he said everything depends on the know there? Hayalavish semer v'heitzar. He was wearing wool clothes, and it bothered him because he was sweating. And he makes a neder not to benefit from semer coming on his body. Aser little bush. What he meant to aser was wearing woolen clothes. And mutter liton, if he wants to work and carry things made out of wool to sell to other people, he could do that. Ayaton pishjan. If he had pishjan, he was holding over his shoulder, and he sweated. He forbade himself from pishtan going on his body. Mutter little bush. He obviously didn't mean to aser himself from wearing linen clothes. Linen is obviously a very light material. The aser liton, he's aser to carry it because that causes him to sweat a lot. So it depends on the circumstance. They took the nether. According to Rabbi Yehuda, possibly Rabbi Yehuda. It doesn't seem like anyone is arguing on Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda tells you an extra detail that we didn't have before. Probably we possibly like Rabbi Yehuda. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Si. I want to talk more about who we paskin like in this bachlokas by Dagon or a mayor or the Chachamim. Most Rishonim, the Ein Mishpat seems to paskin like the Chachamim at Dagon into only Chameshes Minim, but there's a lot of proofs not that way, especially from modern day Hebrew, and I'd like to bring that to the table. Inga Van Sion coming up next.